welcome back. This is a recently seen video. Basically, it's for the kind of films I watched over the last month that I haven't really done anything on, because none of the films are really worth a video on their own. There's nothing to them that would require a video. So I'll just do them as one big squashed up video, because it's just a bunch of things in. I like this, and this is worth seeing, this is not, but a lot of them, you'd get like 5 minutes the most out of them if you really pushed it. Right, so the first one's Godzilla X Kong New Empire. This is my favourite of the bunch. I'm going to start with my favourite. This is, if you like Godzilla films, and if you love the Showa era, which was the early first era from 1954 to 1975 or something like that, the first 20 odd years of Godzilla films, where they went from being serious to being the most cartoonish thing possible. This is the cartoony era, part of the Showa era, like the era of like Destroy All Monsters, which I watched recently as well. That was a lot of fun. But this one belongs to that era where it's unapologetic. This is a stupid film. Everyone involved knows it's a stupid film. It's just an excuse to have lots of monster fights, and there's nothing wrong with that. I saw it twice. Basically because some other videos, you know what's happening last month. It was a good comfort thing for me. Just watch monsters fight and destroy the pyramids and part of Italy and part of France, and it's just fun. And it's a Kong movie, basically. Kong basically on the Hollow Earth have to find his origins, find origins as people. Well, Godzilla seems to be powering up in the surface, and they have to team together at a certain point to face off King Scar, which is a big Kong-like creature who rules all the apes who are like Kong, and Kong has to defeat him. And he has this Godzilla-like monster under his control who has to be defeated as well before they take over the world. It's as silly as it sounds. It's exactly the kind of plot you'd get in a 60s and 70s Godzilla movie in Japan. Doesn't matter, it's fun. It's been a lot of money over the world, because everyone knows what it is. Because Godzilla -1 was like the serious Godzilla movie, and this is like the silly one, and they're both enjoyable in different ways, and you can have a fun time with them. This is the kind of Godzilla film where you have all the bizarre exposition. You have actors trying to keep a straight face, explaining stuff. And you have other actors who are just having it up and having a good time. Like Dan Stevens turns up and he basically hams it up, and he's a lot of fun playing the comic relief. Brian Tyree Henry is also the comic relief back from the last film. Rebecca Hall has to do all the serious heavy lifting of what there is and all the exposition. There's some wonderful stuff, like there's old ancient cultures lost in Hollow Earth. There's telepathy. Which is crazy, but by the time you get to it, actually works perfectly fine in this film. You've got ancient civilizations of apes. You've got Godzilla getting pink breath because his powers up. Godzilla destroyed tons of monsters on the surface, and you've Godzilla Kong having one more fight before they team up to defeat the other enemy. It's just silly, but it's so much fun if you like that kind of movie. You know, and if I just want to see a big silly movie, this works. That's just genuinely works. So that one, yep, go watch it. Then we get Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now, Ghostbusters is a weird thing. My cousin James is a massive Ghostbusters fan. I am not. I enjoy Ghostbusters, but it's like I watch it every so often. I'm not like obsessed by it or anything. I love the first one. The sequel was okay. The reboot wasn't that great, but it didn't really offend me. And these two new Afterlife and Frozen Empire are nostalgia bait films that are enjoyable, but they're not on the same level as the original. They're much more in par with Ghostbusters 2, to be honest. You know, there's some nice bits. There's some bits that are a bit awkward. I'm happy to watch them once in a while, but they're not going to replace the first one. And this one is basically, it was sold as a big epic Ghostbusters film. It really wasn't, because even the trailers from the last 30 minutes to make it look epic. It's basically the family from the last Ghostbusters film coming to New York to be Ghostbusters, investigating something that's looking suspicious. And you get a lot more of Dan Aykroyd's character and him dealing with retirement and trying to find worth in his life. You get a bit more Bernie Hudson as Winston again. You get the family stuff. You Paul Rudd stealing the film again, basically a bit funny. McKenna Grace as the kind of sensitive younger one. She gets a lot of good stuff. The other parts of the family are pretty much ignored. They get a couple of scenes, that's it. And that's the thing, in this film, there's too many people in it. There's way too many characters. That's the big thing, is I had to cut it down half the characters. You may have something much more cohesive. Because there's certain threads that start and then never pay off. Like the thing between the girl and the mother, the McKenna Grace and her mother, Carrie Coon, they set it up and then it doesn't really pay off at the end, and it's like there's a scene missing somewhere that was really important that wasn't there. And the film feels like that with a lot of characters. It just feels like they're there, but they should be there more often, or cut it down a little bit. It just feels like it's a mix between just too many characters, cluttering the plot up. But it's still enjoyable. I had fun with it. It's a painless film to watch. It didn't do well when it first came out, but it's actually stayed around. Because I think people have realised the critics hated it, but actually it was fine. It's not amazing, but it's just enjoyable. It's like I'd happily rewatch it without a problem. It's one of those films that works well enough, and that's okay sometimes. Right. Now I'm going to a film I've already covered, but I saw it in the 4K, which was the best special edition, which is a new release, James Cameron one. I also watched True Lies, but I'm not going to cover that one. But this one, the best, because I managed to see the full length, almost 3-hour version on 4K. It looks great. The transfer's terrific. The film still works really well. I'm just mentioning it to say, if you're in Britain, you have to buy it from either Amazon in France or Germany or Amazon America. But it is worth the money. You get all the extras, plus you get some new stuff. You get a really good transfer of the film, of both cuts of the film. It's a really good deal. I'd highly recommend it. So I really enjoyed it. I always liked Abyss. It's flawed, but fun. Now we go to Roadhouse remake, which is it's fun. It's just, as I'm trying to think of, some people have really bashed this one. Because I saw this when I saw the Wages of Fear remake, and both of them had the same thing of, I enjoyed them. They're streaming films. They're not in the same league as the originals, but the Roadhouse remake's probably better because it's a better director, better cast, and it's doing something simple. As this character and this Roadhouse dealing with these villains and lots of punch-ups. You have Conor McPherson over the top as one of the villains. You have a bunch of other slimy villains you have to deal with. Jake Gyllenhaal's on a lot of fun as this character, but he's not trying to be Patrick Swayze at all. It just works for what it is. It's just like the problem is, it's called Roadhouse, and you expect a very Swayze-ish action movie from the 80s, and that's not what it is. It's just basically the same premise, but they don't try and remake the original. They don't try and be as absurd as the original. They just make a film with a generally the same plot. It's kind of like a western where they both get roughly the same plots, and that's it. It's an enjoyable little beat 'em up movie about a Roadhouse, and you don't have to think of the original. You can if you want, but it's unsatisfying. Just watch it as what it is, as a little B movie made by Amazon. That's all it really is. It's not trying to be a remake of Roadhouse, like scene for scene. Now, Wages of Fear is the Netflix remake of the Clouseau film. It's an adaptation of the book the Clouseau film was based on, which was also used for Sorcerer. Now, this film is a French, like the original, and it's not a patch on the original or Sorcerer, but it is enjoyable. The main problem with the film is the fact that they feel obliged to add action scenes in here when all you need is suspense. You need a bit of action at the start to explain the plot, and the actual reason for the plot and why these people are in a bad situation and why they need to be forced to do this job of transporting 2 trucks full of nitroglycerin through rocky ground to put out a fire that's in an oil well. The reasons for that actually work pretty well. They're set up well, everything works there. It's quite nicely done. So it's not a remake of the original setup, it's just different characters in the same situation. That works. The idea of switching it from jungle to rocky roads and mountainous areas, so it's based in the Middle East, that works. That's fine. And the idea of the corrupt oil companies in this country, in this politically divisive country, and everyone's in it to exploit situations and some people get buggered up by it. All that's interesting. It's just that that's all you need. Instead, they have to, because they hire people who can do fight scenes, they have to have some fight scenes in the beginning that are a bit too much. Then they have to have fight scenes throughout the film to show that people are trying to hijack the stuff or take over and stuff, and there's all these rebels around, and there's too much of it. There's just too much of it. It's just boring. At some point, it's like you're getting in the way of the real suspense. The real suspense is just focus on the idea that the thing that they're transporting could blow up at any minute, and just use the physical conditions to make the suspense. That's all you need. Anytime they go back to the suspense of the original, the film works. When they do the action scenes, it's like, why are you wasting time and screen time on something you don't need? When you've got the characters down and you've got the situation down, but now you're doing fight scenes that aren't as interesting as the suspense scenes. That's the main problem. Plus the end, the kind of the first two versions had famously nihilistic endings. This one tries to ape that without being as dark as that, and it doesn't work. It needs to be dark. It needs to be like hell on earth type of situation, and it doesn't really go with that, and it becomes less of a movie because of that. And it's just, that's a shame. But yeah, I mean, it's still an enjoyable. I just view it as it's an enjoyable bit of trash, fun remake of something that I think more highly of the originals. That's it. But it's watchable. It's fine. It's like it doesn't insult the original. It just isn't as good as the first two versions. Okay, now we've got Rebel Moon Part 2, which is another film that has been absolutely hated critically. I mean, the first one got bad reviews. This one gets even worse reviews. And it is, I mean, one of the big problems is this film should have been one film. There's no reason for it to be two films. There's just none. So it's two films. So all it means is each section of the story can get padded out well beyond its natural life. And it is just a remake of The Seven Samurai or Magnificent Seven or Battle Beyond the Stars if you want to go sci-fi, with lots of cliches and lots of plot holes that don't make sense. I mean, people have pointed out that why does this massively advanced culture who can do space travel, why can't they just grow their own food on the ships if they're so advanced? It just seems stupid. Why do they rely on these outliers for resupplies of grain of all things? It just feels stupid. It's just there because they want the grain thing rather than something else. So there's lots of stupid stuff. If you get beyond that, it's a fun sci-fi movie with lots of pulp images. That's what I was there for, the pulp images. The plotting I didn't really care about that much. It's just like it's basically this group has to train these farmers, use their skills to make them better because there's only 7 of them. Then when the baddies come, they have to use all the skills to fight them off. Some die, some don't. The leader of the people go up to the main ship and destroy the villains and save everyone. That's it. Because the big myth around all these super, Empire spanning schemes makes the little plots feel absurd. So the A plot and the B plot don't feel linked together in a cohesive way. But if you ignore that and just go for the pulp and go for the nonsense and say I'm watching nonsense, it's fine. It's perfectly enjoyable. I have to admit, I've turned my brain off in these films. There's lots of things that could get me angry if I really try to look into them, so I just don't bother. Just enjoy it. It's Zack Snyder being self-indulgent. You've a lot of actors been overpaid to do something ridiculous. The film works better with the little scenes of different, like, letting actors do little bits of nonsense to keep their characters interesting, even though these are not deep characters, and there's a sense that if a character gets too interesting, they're going to get killed off. Like, basically, the most interesting character in the first one is Charlie Hunnam. He get killed off. The second one is the Japanese warrior, Bruna Jane or something. I can't remember how to pronounce her name. She is killed off, and it's like, well, they keep on killing up. Is it because they can't only afford these actors for a certain amount of time? I don't know. But anybody really good. But the only person who basically who's interested doesn't get killed off is Daijin Jimisu, who plays Titus in this one. And it's like, wow, I'm amazed he didn't get killed off because he seems too interested for the rest of the film. But yeah, I mean, it's fun pulp, but it's very self-indulgent. You have to like watching images of old pulp magazines to really get much from it. If you're looking for like anything regarding anything requiring humanity, this is not it. Or logic, this is not it. Now we have Mercenaries from Hong Kong. This is a very brief one. It's on the Arrow short scope set. It's silly as hell. It's very enjoyable, but really stupid. It's the usual thing. A bunch of mercenaries have to come together to do a job. There is some betrayals. People have to deal with the betrayals and then get revenge on the people who betrayed them. It's every cliche. Everything is crammed into so that the plot's got about 3 more plot lines per scene than it needs. It's utterly ridiculous, but very enjoyable for how ridiculous it is and how over the top and stupid it is. It's one of those films that succeeds in spite of itself. Right. Now we have Drive Away Dolls, which is the Ethan Coen film without Joe Coen, and done with his wife, Trisha Cook, and it was based on a thing they wrote together years ago, which never got anywhere. They were going to have another director do it, then never happened, so Ethan Coen ended up directing himself. And it's enjoyable, but it's underwritten. It's that thing as you feel like, as you hear it's been rewritten, and it's like, how does it still feel like a first draft then? It just feels like there are nice things. But there's these 2 lesbian friends who are on a drive-away, which is a drive-away. You drive a car from one place to the other for someone else because you're going that place anyway. And it turns out in it there are items that people want, and the people follow them to get this item, and they of course take all these little side things that happen because one of the characters is very self-indulgent, the other one is very repressed. She's trying to bring out her friend to make her happier, and it just creates this situation where you've got lots of things happening and not all of them are interesting, and it's like all the quirky stuff in a Coen Brothers movie in this one film. It's like over-quirked is the best way to put it. It's like there's no one there saying, no, let's not do that, that's too much. That's the problem with the film, and it feels like the plot's less motivated than it needs to be, and the quirks have taken over. But it's still enjoyable, but a lot of it really is meant to be a romantic comedy, as these 2 girls realise they're actually in love with each other. And those scenes with the 2 actresses work. The actresses make it work a lot better than usual, because they really make it work for beyond what the script is doing sometimes. But there's a lot of scenes that feel kind of tacky, and like I'm amazed that it wasn't called out for being like, this is just fantasy stuff that's kind of ridiculous and kind of really cheesy. And there's some twist later on with Matt Damon that's just embarrassing, some of the jokes they're doing. It's just a weird film that is more enjoyable than it should be, but it should be a lot better. It's just one of those films that it's like, if someone hates it, I see why. I like bits of it, and I like the two lead actresses, but there's a lot there that really needed work. I'm being very generous to this one. Finally, with Death Trap, which is based on an old Ivor Leaving play, directed by Sidney Lumet, stars Michael Caine and Christopher Reeve. It's based on one of the best-selling plays of the late 70s, early 80s. It's turned into a film, caught such a big hit. And the film's fine. The film's enjoyable. It's like, it's one of those things that based on Ivor Leaving stuff is Ivor Leaving's a good writer, so you know it's going to be good, clever, and it's going to be a really good structure. But it feels a transfer from the play to the film means that certain things are very literal that might have been more playful in the play. And it's one of those things is, Sidney Lumet's a very good director, a very solid director, but he's not a funny director. He tends to like to make points, but when he's trying to be screwball funny, I don't think his films work as well. And this film needs a light touch because of the material, and I think it was written from play to screen and a bit more seriousness than it probably required, a bit less of a light touch than it needed, and I think sometimes it feels a bit lumbering because of that, even though it's very enjoyable. The actors are all good, they're all having fun with it, but you always feel that with a different director giving it a lighter touch, you'd have a better film. You know, you just needed someone just to with less emphasis sometimes, to be more playful. Because if you look at something like Rosemary's Baby, it's more playful because Roman Polanski gets the joke. He knows how to keep it serious, but he knows how to have some humour with it. And this one, it goes more towards the serious, when in fact it's less serious than Rosemary's Baby. It's that kind of weird mix that doesn't quite go, but it's still a very enjoyable film because the material's so good. But it's kind of one of those ones where it could have been a lot better. So that's me. That's the films I've seen recently. None of them were strong enough for a full video, but I thought it would make a fun little video here. So hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back at some point. Bye.